Welcome back to BlockTV. It's time now for Chain Breakers, where we speak to the people in the industry who are trailblazing a path for us all. Today, we go to Toronto, where we're talking with Wes Fulford, CEO of Bitfarms, who just moments ago opened the Toronto Stock Exchange after listing on there just last month. And let's take a look at how that all went down.
14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Well, Wes, that certainly looked like an exciting moment for you guys there. How did it feel opening the exchange?
Wonderful. I haven't seen the video yet. How'd we look?
Yeah, you looked pretty sharp from there. Looked all very slick and excited. Went off pretty well without a hitch. So, but it looked like it certainly felt pretty good. But now,
Yeah.
obviously, the more important story there. You opened it today, an exciting time. But you were listed just last month. I understand the first company to do so with a full prospectus IPO listing. Tell us a little bit about that process and how it all went down.
Yeah, well, we're an interesting company because we were actually publicly traded in Israel up until June 11th this year. We went public in Israel via an RTO in April of 2018, and made an assessment of the marketplace and where the best possible market would be to list Bitfarms in terms of access to capital, liquidity for our shareholders, etc. And we started a process to move the company over to Canada or back to Canada in October of last year. It took 10 months to get through the Ontario Securities Commission, TSX review committee, the regulatory regime in Israel, court process, shareholders, all that came with this endeavor. But we concluded it in July, about 3 weeks ago, and we're pleased to be trading here in Canada as a Canadian listed, Canadian operated, Canadian headquartered business.
And now, I mean, obviously going through such an extensive process, it's not one which necessarily a lot of crypto or Bitcoin-based company, blockchain rather based companies have necessarily gone through in many jurisdictions. Do you feel this gives you guys an edge over potentially some of the competition that's out there, both in Canada and around the globe?
Yeah, there's a number of public companies listed in this marketplace in Canada, and we do believe we're different. And the reason why we're different is because we did clear a prospectus with the Ontario Securities Commission. We got their blessing. We're audited by one of the big four accounting firms. We've taken steps to vertically integrate our business, which allows us to protect our operating margins in times of weak crypto pricing. And we manage all of our own operations, which are in Quebec, powered by 100% renewable green hydroelectricity, which is all surplus energy.
And I want to talk about that because obviously Quebec presents a relatively unique market in that sense in terms of its access to hydroelectric facilities, and that's something I know Bitfarms has taken advantage of. Can you tell us a little bit about your location for your mining setups and how you sort of go through that process in terms of obviously energy costs and in terms of full setup facilities and appropriate sort of places?
Yeah, we actually worked with the hydro producer in the province, Hydro-Quebec, years ago to identify some of the sites that we're operating today, targeting locations where there was empty real estate available and surplus grid power being produced that we could take advantage of. The wonderful thing about Quebec is there's lots of skilled labor. There is cool, ambient, low humidity temperatures all year round, which is ideal from a technological computing standpoint, running our farms with thermodynamic engineering, no air conditioning, maximizing how much power we're actually putting into hashing versus cooling our facilities. So it's, on a global scale, without question, Quebec's a great place to operate in this industry.
Certainly, it sounds like it has a lot of the potential to be a very powerful place in which to continue developing mining operations. But I suppose I wonder, given at the moment there's still so much of global crypto mining centered in China, do you think that you can disrupt that market and really develop that into Quebec or just generally into a more international space?
I think, we're obviously biased, but I mean, I think the community, the crypto community, would like to see a lot more diversification in hash power for sure. It's hard to say exactly how much hash power is centralized in China, probably 65-70% of global hash power. But there are political pressures in certain jurisdictions that are causing miners to evaluate where they're going long term and where they want to build and make the investment. So, we are providing a service to the crypto community, a diversified miner sitting outside of traditional boundaries, and we're excited to continue growing our business as one of the few companies that actually secured capital in 2019.
Certainly no small feat there, but I got to ask as well, I mean, when people think about crypto mining generally, Bitcoin mining specifically, of course, they obviously come up against the massive energy consumption rates that people talk about. And I know, obviously, you're talking about using hydroelectric energy there, but still the association is hard to break, that it's not very environmentally friendly, a waste of energy, people would call it. Other than, obviously, the push to hydroelectric and renewable energies, what else would you say you're doing to try and change that image, or perhaps diversify and disrupt that notion of Bitcoin miners?
Yeah, it's important to our branding for sure that we are only consuming green energy, and all the energy we are consuming is 100% surplus power, extra power being produced that's not being consumed locally. And with that, even in certain municipalities we're working with the townships to pull back our consumption in peak heating hours during peak winter months or cold winter months. So trying to be a good partner in the communities that we are located in. But in terms of mining itself, I think it's important the way we're using the energy, how we're consuming it, in terms of specifically our power usage efficiency, how much of our energy consumption is actually going into hashing. And there are global studies, CoinShares being one of them, producing reports, sort of a diagnostic on cryptocurrency miners globally and what power sources they're plugged into. And actually, for any massive scale manufacturing industry, this business is probably got the highest renewable content globally. It's estimated that about 74% of global cryptocurrency miners are powered by green energy. And when you compare that to, if this truly evolves to being a digital payment system, replacing many fiat currencies, when you compare the costs and power that goes into supporting the current Bitcoin network to the administration and carbon footprint surrounding 180 global fiat currencies, I think it pales in comparison. Certainly so. Many would be inclined to believe you here in this industry as well, think the same way. Yeah.
But I suppose I want to ask as well, obviously, obvious question for any publicly listed company, certainly, but any large-scale company working in this space right now, obviously volatility, huge element, huge issue for the bottom line of any crypto miner out there. Given the state of volatility at the moment, obviously 2019, it's been a pretty positive year so far for cryptos, but as we all know in this industry, things can change on a dime. And of course, with the halving coming up, coming up in 2020, do you guys feel you've got what it takes to be able to stay competitive, even should the market tighten in the future?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the struggle with our modeling exercises and cash flow forecasts is consistent amongst all industry participants. It's trying to predict where pricing and difficulty is going to evolve to, or hopefully stabilize. We do a lot of market diagnostics, and I think we are confident, with our cost of electricity in Quebec and the way we're consuming it, and steps to pull margin out of the manufacturing or mining process that our peers cannot, by fully managing our own operations and maximizing the way we're using the power. I think on a global scale, we are well positioned to compete long-term as a low-cost, top quartile producer. So even in the sort of crypto winter of Q4 2018, Q1 2019, we maintained very healthy mining margins, which is why we were able to conclude a debt financing of $20 million in March of 2019 to put us in a position to grow our operations and become a much larger global player.
Certainly, it seems like it's an exciting time for crypto markets as a whole, for miners in particular, and perhaps for you guys there at Bitfarms even more so. I want to thank you, Wes Fulford, CEO of Bitfarms, for taking the chance to come and speak with us here at BlocTV on such an exciting day for you guys, getting to ring the bell at the Toronto Stock Exchange. We are now publicly listed. Wes, thanks so much for joining us. And of course, stay with us at BlockTV.com for all the latest in news and information. We'll be with you for all the latest news sources. I'm Asher Westrop Evans. Thanks for watching.
For more news and updates, follow us on Twitter.